The courtroom fell deathly silent as Judge Eleanor Voss leaned forward, her gavel hovering like a threat. 14-year-old Tyler Brooks stood alone at the defendant's table, his small frame shaking, eyes wide with terror. "You expect this court to swallow that ridiculous story?" The judge snarled, her voice laced with icy mockery. "A boy like stealing a stranger's luxury car to save your daddy's life? How original, how convenient." A few spectators chuckled. Tyler's voice cracked as he tried to speak, but the judge cut him off with a laugh. "Save the tears, kid. Boys like you don't get miracles." No one in that packed Elmwood County Courthouse could have predicted what would happen next when Tyler's quiet, unassuming father slowly rose from the back row and everything changed forever. Welcome to Stories with Amanda, where we uncover the most shocking and untold stories from around the world. Stories of justice, heartbreak, courage, and the moments that reveal who we truly are. Elmwood was the kind of sleepy Midwest town where porch lights stayed on late and neighbors still waved at each other on Main Street. Poplar trees lined the courthouse square, and the air always carried the faint scent of fresh-cut grass and distant rain. But for the Brooks family, life had never been simple. 5 years earlier, Tyler's mother, Sarah, had died in a devastating car crash on the icy highway just outside town. Tyler was only 9. From that day on, it had been just him and his father, David Brooks. David, 45, was a former Marine with a quiet strength that came from years of carrying more than his share. After leaving the service, he opened a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. His hands were rough, scarred from wrenches and engine grease, but they were the same hands that had held Tyler through every nightmare and every tear since Sarah's death. They lived in a modest 2-bedroom house on Maple Lane, peeling paint on the shutters, a tire swing in the backyard that David had built when Tyler was small. Money was always tight. Medical bills from Sarah's final months had wiped out their savings, and David's own health had started to fail. Years of stress and old shrapnel wounds had left him with a weak heart that doctors warned could give out without warning. Still, father and son faced it together. Tyler helped at the shop after school, learning to change oil and troubleshoot engines. In the evenings, they cooked simple dinner spaghetti or grilled cheese sand. Talked about the future. Tyler dreamed of becoming an engineer, building machines that could save lives the way his father had once saved lives overseas. David would smile, ruffle his son's hair, and say, "You already saved mine the day you were born, kid." Their bond was unbreakable, forged in grief and quiet love. Tyler was bright, kind, and shy around strangers, but with his dad he laughed easily. David never missed a school event, never let Tyler feel the weight of their struggles alone. They were each other's whole world. Then came the night that shattered their fragile peace. It was a cold October evening. David was watching a ball game on the couch when the crushing pain hit, his chest like a sledgehammer. He collapsed, gasping, "Tyler, call 911? Their old pickup truck was still in the shop for transmission repairs. The nearest hospital was 25 miles away." Tyler, heart hammering, grabbed his father's phone and ran into the pouring rain toward the all-night gas station 1 block away. A sleek black sedan sat idling at the pump, keys dangling from the ignition. The driver inside paying for gas and coffee. In pure panic, Tyler jumped behind the wheel. "I'm sorry," he whispered as he sped off. He dialed 911 while driving, voice trembling as he described his father's symptoms. Sirens eventually met him at the hospital entrance. Doctors rushed David into the ER and stabilized him just in time. Tyler parked the car neatly in the lot, left the keys on the hood with a handwritten note, "Emergency, please forgive me," and waited beside his father until the sun rose. He thought he had done the right thing. He thought it was over. He was wrong. The car belonged to Richard Lang, a wealthy local businessman with powerful friends. The next morning, Lang reported the car stolen, claiming thousands in emotional damages and possible theft of personal items. Police traced the vehicle to the hospital. Tyler was arrested at school in handcuffs while his classmates watched. The town split in two. Some whispered he was a hero. Others called him a delinquent taking after his broken family. Now, 3 months later, Tyler Brooks stood in juvenile court, facing up to a year in detention and a permanent record that would destroy his future. David sat in the back row, silent and watchful, looking every bit the tired mechanic in his faded flannel shirt. The public defender had warned them the judge was tough, but no one was prepared for just how personal and how cruel this day would become. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and nervous sweat. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Judge Eleanor Voss entered, black robes sweeping behind her. She was known across the county for her zero-tolerance stance on troubled youth. At 58, with sharp cheekbones and colder eyes, she had built a reputation for swift, harsh sentences that pleased the town's wealthier residents. Tyler stood alone at the table, his public defender, a tired, overworked man named Mr. Hayes, flipping through thin files. David sat motionless in the gallery, hands folded tightly in his lap. "Tyler Brooks," Judge Voss began, voice clipped, "you are charged with grand theft auto, a felony. How do you plead?" "Not guilty, Your Honor," Tyler whispered. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Speak up, boy. The court doesn't have all day for mumbling." Tyler cleared his throat. "Not guilty, Your Honor. I only took the car because my dad was dying. I had no choice." A thin smile crept across Judge Voss's face. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. "Oh, this should be good. Go on. Tell us your little fairy tale." Tyler's voice trembled as he recounted the night his father collapsing, the missing truck, the idling car, the desperate drive, the note he left. The gallery murmured. Some faces softened. Judge Voss cut him off with a sharp laugh that echoed through the room. A hero's son rushing to save Daddy? How touching! How utterly convenient! She glanced at the prosecutor. "Mr. Lang is a respected member of this community. You expect me to believe a 14-year-old? Street kid just happened to find a running luxury car and played Good Samaritan?" She looked Tyler up and down, taking in his faded jeans and worn sneakers. "You look exactly like what you are, a boy who thinks the rules don't apply to him." Tyler's eyes filled with tears. "I left a note. I called 911 the whole way." "Enough," the judge snapped. "This court has heard every excuse under the sun. Next you'll tell me you flew the car here on wings of desperation." She waved a dismissive hand. "Proceed with the evidence." The inciting incident had landed like a hammer. The judge wasn't just skeptical. She was openly mocking a terrified child in front of everyone. And the worst was yet to come. Richard Lang took the stand, dressed in an expensive suit, voice dripping with outrage. He described arriving at the gas station, paying for his coffee and discovering his car gone. "I was terrified," he claimed. "I thought I'd been carjacked. Who knows what that boy might have done if I'd been inside." He demanded full restitution and jail time to send a message. Mr. Hayes tried to cross-examine, but the judge sustained every objection from the prosecutor. Tyler sat frozen, watching his future slip away. David's jaw tightened in the back row, but he remained seated for now. The prosecutor introduced hospital records. Then came the final blow. The prosecutor introduced a surprise document, a prior minor citation. Tyler had received 2 years earlier for shoplifting a candy bar from the corner store when he was 12 and grieving his mother. "Pattern of behavior," the prosecutor declared. Judge Voss's eyes gleamed. "This is not an isolated incident. This boy is on a path to real crime." She turned to Tyler. "You had every opportunity to do the right thing. Instead, you chose theft again." The room felt suffocating. Tyler's face went pale. He looked toward his father, desperate. David's hands were now clenched into fists. The judge prepared to deliver her verdict. "Tyler Brooks, I find you." "Stop." The single word boomed through the courtroom. Every head turned. David Brooks stood slowly from the back row, tall and steady despite the tremor in his hands. The bailiff moved toward him, but David raised one hand. "Your Honor, I respectfully ask to be heard before you destroy my son's life." Judge Voss's face flushed with anger. "Mr. Brooks, sit down immediately or I will have you removed for contempt." David didn't sit. He walked forward with deliberate steps until I will not let my son be punished for choosing love over fear. The courtroom was electric. The prosecutor stammered. Richard Lang shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Judge Voss opened her mouth, but for the first time that day, no mocking words came out. In the stunned silence that followed, Judge Voss had no choice. The charges against Tyler Brooks were dismissed immediately. Richard Lang was ordered to appear before the county prosecutor for possible fraud charges. The video evidence went viral within hours. The town that had once whispered about the troubled Brooks boy now called him a hero. David's health stabilized with proper treatment the town quietly helped fund through an anonymous donation drive. Tyler returned to school, head held high for the first time in months. Father and son grew even closer. Their bond forged stronger in the fire of public judgment. David returned to his garage, but now with a new sign above the door: Brooks & Son, Auto-Wear Family Comes First. The judge faced an internal review for bias, though she kept her seat. Some said she was never quite as quick to mock again. The community of Elmwood learned a quiet lesson: never underestimate the power of a father's love, or the moment a quiet man decides to stand. In the end, justice wasn't delivered by gavels or robes. It came from a father who refused to stay silent while his son was torn apart.